In this video, we will discuss array. Let's look at this example. Employees contribute an amount to charity every quarter. The employer supplements each contribution by 25%. So let's look at this code. So I create a dataset. So the name of the dataset is charity. In the input statement, so I tell SAS I want to load 5 variables. The first one is ID and followed by 4 variables. Yeah, so they are the contribution in each quarter. So in the data line, so I just list two rows here. Well, then here, yeah, because the employer supplements each contribution by 25%, right? So then we for each contribution, so we just multiply it by 1.25 will be the final contribution. Yeah, so then we do this for quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. So look at here. So this for statement, they looks very similar, and we just change the name of the variable. So is there a way to make this code more efficient? Yeah, so this is the motivation that we want to discuss array in this class. So for array processing, so you can use array to simplify programs that perform repetitive calculations and create many variables with the same attributes, or read data, load SAS datasets by making variables into observations or observations into variables, or compare variables, or perform a table lookup. So those are a list of things array can do. And so we will show examples for those tasks. So what is SAS array? SAS array is a temporary grouping of SAS variables that are arranged in a particular order. Yeah, so it is identified by an array name. It exists only for duration of the current data step, and it is not a variable. So each value of an array is called an element. It is identified by a subscript that represents the position of the element in the array. So when you use an array reference, the corresponding value is substituted for the reference. So look at this array statement. So array statement defines the element in an array. Yeah, so these elements will be processed as a group. So you refer to elements of array by array name and the subscript. So in this statement, you just say, first put a array name. So in the parentheses, so you will write a number. Yeah, so this number just will be the total elements in this array. So when you use the array statement, all elements, so basically, so all variables grouped in this array must have the same type. So I mean, they must be all numerical or all character. And this statement must be used to define an array before the array name can be referred. So notice, so here I use a bracket, right? So yeah, but in SAS, instead of bracket, so you can also use a parentheses or maybe a braces. So either one works as long as you use the same symbol. Okay. Yeah. So these are just some examples. For quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, so those variables, and you can group them in one array. So then you will say a array in array statement. So this is the name of the array. I think so. Here we call it array name, right? So this is array name. In this bracket, so you write 4, just tells us. So in this array, you have 4 variables in total, or 4 elements in total. In here, of course, so those name of the variables, so they look similar. Yeah, but they do not need to be like that. So for example, so like this one, so you define another array with 4 variables. So those variable names looks quite different, right? Yeah. When you define array, so instead of write the total number of variables total number of elements in the array, so you can write A star. Yeah, so basically, so SAS will count the number of variables itself. Okay. Usually, so when we process array, so it is combined with a do loop. An iterative do loop, so that process an array, has the following form. So we will say do, you will have a index variable. So usually, so it starts from 1 to the number of arrays, number of elements in the array. Yeah, so then you will put additional statement, so using array name inside of this do loop. Yeah, so this is usually how we do it. So look at here and here. So in the bottom one, so this one is just how we write the code before, right? So then in the top, in this part, we just write equivalent code in array. So we first define a array. So the array name is contrib, okay? And so here we list 4 variables here. Then in a do loop, the index variable is qtr, right? So it goes from 1 to 4. So then we will have like this. Maybe let's try to explain this in this way. So this is code, right? So for this do loop, so when SAS do it, okay, so SAS, so in the beginning, qtr is equal to 1, right? So SAS will run this piece of code. So then the qtr, see the first one qtr is 1, right? So then SAS run the statement inside the loop. Yeah, so then this qtr is essentially 1, SAS will replace that by 1. And because contribute 1, so this is indicate the first element in this array. So means this variable, right? So what SAS do is, see, for this code, yes, oh sorry, for this code, SAS will just replace this one by qtr1, replace this one by qtr1, and then what SAS essentially run is this one. Okay, and so then qtr becomes 2, right, in the next iteration. So SAS try to run this code. So this qtr, so this index variable, the current value is 2, right? So then SAS will interpret this as so this contrib 2, right? So this index, this array with the subscript, right? So cause this is the second element in the array, so this will be replaced by this qtr2. Yeah, so then this is actually so what SAS run. And after that, so in the next iteration, then qtr becomes 3. Okay, so then when SAS run this code, so the qtr, because it is 3, right? Yeah, so then I put 3 here. And so what SAS do is, see, this qt contrib 3, so this is the third element in the array, so it will be replaced by qtr3. So this is essentially what SAS run. Then qtr equals 4, and so this is the last iteration. And so for this statement, see, qtr is 4 now. Okay, and SAS interpret this as, so this replace this one by the third, by the last, and by the fourth element in the array. Yeah, so this, when we use this array and the do loop, right? So it equivalent to give us these basically 4 lines, 4 statement. Yeah. So then this explains so how to write the code to array and do loop. So here, so we say do 1 to 4, right? Yeah, because we know the number of elements, the total number of elements in the array is 4. A equivalent way is you just use dim function. Yeah, because dim in the parentheses, you just write the name of the array. So then SAS just return the total length or total number of elements in that array. Yeah, so this way will be more flexible. This is a second example. Yeah, so we want to calculate the percentage that each quarter's contribution represents of the employee's total annual contribution. So this just means we look at the, also, I think, so for this one, let me run the code first. Yeah, so the donate, so the data comes from a, see in this, in my data set, so I have a file, not this one, so donate.sas7bdat. Yeah, so this is a SAS data file, right? So if I want to use this file, I just use a lib name, right? So I create a SAS library and I point to that folder. So then I data donate set mylab.donate. So essentially I just copy this SAS data, so from this folder to work library. Yeah, so notice, see, here I include the name of the library, but here I didn't include any name of the library. And so by default, the name of the library is work. So this is a usually a strategy I will do if I work with a permanent data. So I will, first step, I just try to copy that data set to work library. Yeah, because I do not want to modify that permanent data by accident. Yeah, so let's run this one. So this data has 20 observations, 5 variables. So the variables will be ID and quarter 1 to quarter 4. This is the original code, so without array. Yeah, so this is a code with array, right? So let's just run them together, and yeah, so if you compare the result, seems they will produce the same result, right? Okay. So in this second example, we want to calculate the percentage of contribution, right? So what we want to do is, yeah, so let's read this code. You can see, so set donate, right? So we just every time just read one row from this data set. Total equals sum of quarter 1 to quarter 4. Yeah, so this one we just compute the summation of that 4 variables. So then we define an array, right? So then this is we used this statement before. Then we say array percent bracket 4, but nothing else. We didn't list the name of variables. In this way, so then SAS will automatically create 4 variables. Yeah, 4 because see the dimension, I mean the total number of elements is 4, right? Then the SAS just will create 4 numerical variables by default. So the name will be %1, %2, %3, and %4. Yeah, so they will use percent. This percent is just the name of this array. Yeah, so then after that, so SAS just add number to distinguish those variables. Yeah, just use 1, 2, 3, 4. So then in this do loop, you can see percent quarter, right? This QTR, so this is just this index variable. So we just use the quarterly contribution divided by total, right? So then we do that for the first quarter, second quarter, third, and the last quarter. So if you run this one, so SAS will, SAS will calculate. See, to understand this one, so we may try to write the equivalent code, and so then you will see what it means, right? See, basically we just try to understand this do loop, right? Yeah. So if the first one, the quarter QTR is 1, right? Then for this line, SAS will run this line. This is 1, this is 1, right? And so SAS will interpret this by the array just will be replaced by the corresponding variables. Yeah, so %1, because SAS will define %1, right? So contribute 1. So this is the QTR1. Yeah, so what SAS essentially do is like this, right? And so similarly, so when quarter is 2, right? So what SAS do is, well, so SAS will run this one, right? So this will be replaced by 2, and so SAS will interpret this as %2 divided by, %2 equals quarter 2 divided by total, right? Yeah, and so similarly, so then we will have 3, right? So SAS will do this for the third element in this array, and so then the last one, and the 4. Okay, yeah, so then for this do loop, so what SAS do is essentially SAS run this 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So essentially SAS run this 4 statement. Yeah, so this is the meaning of this code. So let's try to run it. Yeah, so for this one, you can see, yeah, so we will have percent of, because in this prop print, right? So then I only ask SAS to show the ID and the %1 to %4. They are percent, yeah, because I specify the format. See, the format, so will be the percent. Yeah, so this so what SAS will show the result in this way. Okay. Yeah, so if you want to check the content of all variables, so this will be percent, right? You can see, so in the resulting data set, so see ID, from ID to Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, so those are the variables in the original data set. Yeah, so then we compute the total. Total is the sum of Q1 to Q4, and so we also compute, we also compute the percent of each quarter over the total. This is another example. Yeah, so what we want to do is we want to calculate the difference in each employee's actual contribution from one quarter to the next. Let's try to understand this code. Okay, so see array, I think so we have used this statement multiple times. This array div 3, right? So I want to create a array with 3 elements. Of course, so here we didn't specify the list of variables, right? So SAS will create a variable called div1, div2, and div3. Then for this one, okay, the first one, I is 1, right? So then SAS will run this line in the loop. So this is 1, I will be replaced by 1, I replaced by 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2, right? And so then this is 1. So then SAS interprets this as, you can see, so the div1 replaced by div1, right? Because so this is the variable created by SAS. Contrib 2. So this is the second array. I'm sorry, not second array. Second element in this contribute array. Yeah, so this will be QTR2, right? So minus the first element in the array, QTR1. So the div1 just is calculated as QTR2 minus QTR1, right? So similarly for I equal to 2, right? So then SAS run this line. So then this becomes 2, I is 2. See, 2 plus 1 is 3, right? So then this is essentially 3. Basically the contrib 3 minus contrib 2, okay? And SAS will interpret this as, see, this should be the div2, right? So the minus the qtr3 equals qtr3 minus qtr2. Okay, and so similarly for the last one, so when I is 3, right, so then we do the diff3 is equal to the contribute 4 minus contribute 3, right? Yeah, so then essentially, so SAS will run this. This is 3, right? Okay, so in this do loop, so SAS essentially run this line, this statement 1, statement 2, and statement 3 in order. Okay. Yeah, so let's try to check that. Yeah, so this is the code so we just discussed. Right, so then SAS just calculate the difference. Yeah, so diff1, diff2, and diff3. Well, so these some comments for character variables. By default, array columns are created as numerical and with length of each column as 8. Yeah, and for character columns, you can specify a length other than 8 following the $sign. Yeah, so for example, in the following example, SAS will create a state array, so with 50 character elements. Yeah, so the name of the variable so will be the state 1 to state 50. So this $12 just tells us the length of each variable, so will be 12. Yeah, and so if you do not specify the length, yeah, so if you drop this 12 and you write the code in this way, so then the default length 8 is assigned to each of the variable. Okay, yeah, so notice, so basically for a character array, so you must add this $sign. Usually for an array, so we start from 1, right? So means the lower bound of the array is 1. But you can use a different lower bound and to make your code more meaningful. Yeah, so for example, the variable so will be year 2011 to year 2016, right? So then you may want to use the index as from 2011 to 2016. So you just use column, right? So on the left hand side of these columns, you just specify the lower bound. On the right hand side, you specify the upper bound. Yeah, so then so you can use the code as so do, right? So from this lower bound to the upper bound. And so if you ignore the name of the variable, and so if you define the array in this way, so then the SAS will not create variable year 2001 to year 2012. Yeah, but the SAS will still create variables year 2001, 2002. Yeah, but however, you can still refer to those variable as year 2001. What I mean is when you use, see, if you define the your code in this way, so the year 2001 to 2016, right? Okay, so when you want to use those, you still say do maybe I from 2011 to 2016, and so then you will have something like so year I equals something, for example, right? Yeah, but however, the name created by SAS is not year 1 to is not year 2001. Yeah, so name of the variable, right, is not year 2011, 2012, but year 1, year 2, and year 3. Yeah, so like that. Yeah, but however, so you can in the array, the subscript, so still 2011, 2012, right? Yeah, but the name of the variable, so just will be the year 1, year 2, year 3. Okay, yeah, so this is what we mean by this comment. Next one, this just tells how to assign initial value to array. Suppose we want to determine the difference between employee contribution and the last year's average quarterly goal of $10, $15, $5, and $10 per employee. So what we want to do is for the quarterly contribution of each employee, right? So then we want to subtract that number by one of the number listed here. Okay, yeah, so this is the purpose. So look at this code. You can see we have the contribute, we have the array. So those, I think we explained something similar before. Then something new is this line in this array statement. So we create an array. So it is called go. The length of the total number of elements will be 4, right? So the corresponding name of the variable will be go1 to go4. Okay, so in this parentheses, I just write 10, 15, 5, and 10. So those 4 numbers just will be the initial value, or just will be the value assigned to each of those goals. So in this do loop, right? So then SAS just use the contribution, basically just use this one of each of this quarter, right? So subtract the corresponding goal. Maybe we can write this one in this. Try to explain this one again. So as what we do is, so we want to try to replace, just expand this do loop, right? So to figure out so what it do. See, in the beginning, so QTR is 1. So for this one, okay, see, basically replace this by 1. Okay, right? Yeah. So what SAS do is so those array, those array element, right? Array with subscript, so will be replaced by the corresponding variable. Now, so this is diff1, right? So see, this is the quarter 1, and so this should be go1, right? Go1, yeah. But because for go1, see, we assigned the initial value. So means, see, this 10, 15, 5, and 10. So first is go1, then go2, then go3, and then go4, right? So basically go1 is essentially just 10 as listed in the code. Yeah, so this is what SAS run essentially. So then we will have the QTR equals to 2, and so then we do similar for this statement, right? QTR is 2, and is 2, right? So when SAS run it, SAS just expand this code to be like that. Yeah, so we will have the diff2, right? So then we will have QTR2, and so then this will be the go2. Yeah, but go2, you can see the initial value is 15, right? Yeah, so this is essentially 15. So what is SAS do? And so similarly, so for the third iteration, we will have QTR is 3, 3, and 3. So then those array with subscript will be replaced by the corresponding variable. And so for go3, so that's 5, right? Yeah, because the initial value here is 5. Okay. So then for the last one, we will have 4 and 4, 4, 4. Yeah, and so then it will be subtract 10. So then for this do loop, right? So SAS essentially runs this statement 1, state 2, statement 3, and statement 4. Yeah, so SAS runs these 4 statements. Yeah, so we can check this code. I think so. This is what we run here, right? See, we have Q1 to Q4, diff1 to diff4. here I dropped the go1 to go4, right? Maybe so I can keep this in the code, and it will be easier for you to check so what's going on for that go1 to go4. You can see go1 to go4 because we set that initial value, so the value just remain constant for all observations. Okay. Yeah, in fact, see, for this go1 to go4, in fact, we only need those values. Essentially, we do not need that variable in the resulting in the output dataset. So one easiest way to do is, so we can use the keyword temporary. So instead of specify variable names. Yeah, so the temporary just means tells us, so for this array, so it only exists during the data step, and so do not write variable go1 to go4 to the output data. Right, yeah, so see, if we run this one, the code looks very much similar as the previous one. Difference is, so here I just write a temporary keyword, right? Yeah, so then we run this one. Essentially produce the same result as the previous one, right? So the previous one just we create 4 variables, and then we drop those 4 variables. So you use the drop option. In the last example, so we just do a transpose of your data. I think for these tasks, see, if you look at the donate, proc print data donate. So this is a wide data, as we mentioned before, right? Because it's a one row corresponding to one subject, one person, right? So then we have multiple variables, so they have similar meaning, yeah, because they are just the contribution in quarter 1 to quarter 4. So what we want to do now is we want to do transpose, right? Yeah, so we just want basically one observation corresponds to 4 rows, right? So for each row, so then we have a variable just indicate the contribution in 1 quarter. We can use a proc transpose to do that. But here we just want to demonstrate that, so we can also do this using array. You can see, so here I just create a array, right? So then I just have an amount, set amount equals that one of the element in that array. So then I output, so write that observation to the output, right? Yeah, so that's if we run that, see, it just has the same result as we use transpose. Okay, yeah, so this just try to illustrate another application of array.